When Mike Tyson came into the ring, he was obviously in very good shape, but his body actually looked normal.
Welcome to Impact and Fulfillment with Coach Mike D, where you'll gain practical wisdom and dynamic insight from amazing conversations to live your best life.
Yo, dig this. This is Coach Mike D back with another episode of Impact and Fulfillment. Hope y'all are doing well. I hope everything is moving in the right direction. And guess what? If it's not, you know what you can do? Pivot, flip it, change that thing. You have control. You have a lot more control than you give yourself credit for. Lean into that. Lean into your power. Lean into your authority. Lean into your calling. Lean into what you are called to do. Your purpose, everything. Lean into it. You have authority. You are empowered. What does empowered mean? You have been given the power. Now lean into it and take action. So yo, dig this, man. Today's quick episode, there's a lot of conversation around this recent boxing, and I'm using air quotes here, boxing match between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. There was a lot of hype, a lot of marketing, and, there's a nostalgic factor that this Mike Tyson fight really brought up that really tapped into the hearts and minds of pretty much everybody over about the age of 40. Because if you're over the age of 40, you vividly remember them Tyson fights from back in the day. It was must-see TV, right? Mike Tyson's, his aura, his reputation, what he brought to the table was something to be admired, but it's also to the point where it was so iconic that it's really hard to describe. Even the clips and the videos and the highlight reels that are rolling now don't do justice to that late 80s, early 90s Mike Tyson era of boxing. And so the marketing of this fight was actually brilliant because it's so much tapped into the nostalgia, and because of the vivid memories we all had of Mike Tyson as a fighter back in his, late teens and early to mid 20s, we had this image of what we thought we were going to see with him stepping into the ring at, almost 60 years old, 58 to be exact. And so I think some of us, again, those of us that were tapped into from a nostalgic perspective, I think a lot of us kind of had some misaligned expectations or, some unfounded expectations of what we were going to see with this fight. But the reality is, looking back on it now after the fact, it was a lot of marketing, and I'll just leave it at that. And so a lot of people criticized it, saying it was staged and, Mike shouldn't have done it, etc., or it was just for the money and all of that. And I make no bones about it. They probably made a whole lot of money when it's all said and done. And for the boxing purists out there, they probably were very much disappointed. And a lot of fans were kind of disappointed. I guess the beauty of it was on Netflix, and it wasn't something that you had to go and pay for the pay-per-view rights. I think some people would have really been disturbed had they paid, $150 to watch the fight. But that being said, I thought about a unique takeaway that I think we could really highlight and focus on, especially men over the age of 40, 50, and maybe up into their 60s. A unique takeaway that nobody's talking about that I noticed. So, if you pay attention to a lot of your favorite action heroes, your favorite movie stars, your favorite entertainers that are up in the 50s, maybe even into their 60s, and you look at their bodies, a lot of times their physical bodies are things that don't make sense. I mean, the muscularity and their, all of that at that particular age, for a lot of the movie stars and action figures, and I'm not going to call names out because I'm not going to make accusations about their process, but you could probably Google a few and some questions get raised. So, Mike Tyson at 58, professional athlete. Mike Tyson is in really good shape for a 58-year-old muscular dude, former top tier athlete of his time. When Mike Tyson came into the ring, he was obviously in very good shape, but his body actually looked normal. He was in really good shape, but his body looked normal, and it actually looked normal for a dude of his age that's in really good shape naturally. Most of the movie stars and the popular figures that we see in the public sphere that are over the age of 50, that are extremely muscular, ridiculously ripped, to the point where they look like they have bodies of people maybe in their 20s, there is a lot of suspicion that those bodies are enhanced, air quotes, in some capacity. And if you talk to people in the medical industry, and we all know that as men age, their testosterone tends to decline. So a remedy that is really taking hold in today's time is, testosterone replacements and all of that. That's just in regular normal men as we age. But when you see someone in their 50s, 60s and beyond, and their bodies look like they're in their 20s, usually, air quotes again, this is not a sign of just naturally exercising well and eating well. In a lot of instances, there's some other enhancements taking place. And the reason I pointed that out with regard to this Tyson fight, taking a look at Mike Tyson's body and knowing that he was boxing and being a professional athlete at 58 years old, more than likely Mike Tyson was not enhanced. That was just nutrition, supplements, and training. A lot of the other people that we look at that are of the same age, that have bodies that don't look natural to an extent, is not just a result of nutrition and training, but a whole lot of other stuff. And the thing is, some of us, as we age, start looking at those particular individuals as the target. But the thing is, if you set that individual as the target of your physical, desires, then the reality is you're setting a reality that might not necessarily be possible without some artificial enhancement. Mike Tyson was an example of somebody training really hard and having some natural genetics, but training really hard naturally. So what his body showed us was what we could look like if you're naturally muscular and you work hard without necessarily having to go the route of possibly steroids and some other enhancements that might have some negative effects down the road. So this was one of the things that I looked at and I saw as a possible win by looking at Mike Tyson as more so goals for guys as we age to be in great physical shape, but to do so naturally. Again, we have to be mindful of the examples that we follow, because sometimes the examples that we follow are doing some stuff that we're really not willing to do. And that then doesn't make it an apples to apples comparison. And it doesn't really give you a playbook towards your goal. And it also helps us to make sure that we set goals that are proper with regard to what we are working towards. So you may have had an issue with the boxing match. You may have had an issue with the outcome. You may have had an issue with how it all turned out. But what I will say is Mike Tyson was definitely an example of brothers as we age, something to look to and say that, hey, it is possible for me to drop weight, for me to lean out, and for me to do so naturally and possibly mitigate some negative effects of some of the other substances that are needed for others to achieve their level of physical prominence, because Mike's looked like his was pretty natural. So I don't know what your thoughts are, but that was just something, again, I was looking at and I thought, like, what are some silver lining scenarios here? And to me, that was a silver lining, especially for some of us brothers who are getting up there in age as we start working through our own, physical development. Mike is an example of what's possible. Do we need to go get in the ring and box? Probably not. We can train, but then we don't necessarily need to let somebody hit us on a regular basis, because that's probably a little problematic, especially as we age as well. But anyway, I saw that as something that we could possibly look into, and let me know what your thoughts are. Anyway, as always, y'all make sure to follow Coach Mike D across all social media. And until next time, I will see you later. Y'all be blessed, well, and wise. All right, peace.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and follow Coach Mike D everywhere on social media. Y'all be blessed, well, and wise.